Hello, everyone, and welcome to the launch of Prisoners 2, a new campaign by Just Detention International that supports the participation of incarcerated survivors of sexual abuse in the Me Too movement. My name is Cynthia Totten. I'm an executive director of Just Detention International, and I use she, her pronouns. I want to note that there's closed captioning available at the bottom of your screen. And I also want to note that today's session is being recorded. Now, we have a very exciting program today. I think shortly we will see an agenda for today's program. So we're going to have opening remarks by Linda McFarland, who is our executive director. We're going to see a short video about Prisoners 2, and then we're going to have a very interesting panel conversation. And we'll be joined by Carmen, who is an incarcerated artist at Leith Correctional Institution, as well as Crystal, who's also an incarcerated artist at Leith, along with Michelle Carter, who's the associate warden of Leith Correctional Institution, Kathy Salzer, who's the founder of A Window Between Worlds, which is a nonprofit organization, and then Tara Graham, my colleague here who at JDI. And then we'll have some closing remarks from Linda McFarland, our executive director. And I just wanted to note that you will see all of our guests on the screen throughout the program today, except for Associate Warden Carter and Carmen and Crystal. Now, they are joining us from Leith Correctional Institution, as I said, and so due to the facility rules, Carmen and Crystal cannot be seen on screen. They cannot join by video, and we're not able to share their last names. I want to point out that it's really unusual. It's pretty rare for currently incarcerated people to be able to be part of an event like this. But honestly, it was Crystal and Carmen who so courageously brought the Prisoners 2 campaign to life, and they made it their own. And so this event would not be complete without them, and we are just thrilled that they're able to join us. So I just wanted to point out one little logistical thing. We want you to participate today. And so any questions that you have, you can put them into at any point into the chat box. And that way we can answer them during the Q&A session, which we'll get to later on. And then also just feel free to say hello in the chat. We know that we've got a lot of friends out there participating today, so please do drop a hello into the chat. So right now I am going to introduce our executive director, Linda McFarland. Welcome, Linda.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. As Cynthia said, I'm Linda McFarland, the Executive Director of JDI, and I use she, her pronouns. And I'm so grateful that you've all have joined us. And we're so excited to share this project, this campaign with you, and to have you join us on today, the official public launch. This project is based on the Me Too movement. And like all of you, we watched Me Too spread online and on social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And while that was happening, we were so excited to see survivors having a place to share, breaking silence, having their voices amplified online, and also getting feedback around that support and decreasing isolation. But as that work was going on, right, we were really aware of the limits. Not everyone has access to the internet and to social media platforms, and certainly incarcerated survivors of sexual abuse don't have access to the internet and social media platforms. So we were very aware all the time that there is this huge community of survivors being left out. And so here I want to pause to give some credit to my predecessor, Lovisa Stanow, who was instrumental in conceiving of and shaping the project and in thinking about art as a way for us to bring incarcerated survivors into this critical conversation. And what Lovisa and the rest of us at JDI recognize is that we needed a way for survivors to be able to share their own Me Too stories with each other and with those of us on the outside. And so what we conceived of was a storytelling platform that's a physical art installation inside 2 women's prisons in South Carolina, Leith Correctional and Camille Griffith Graham Correctional Institutions. And that platform, this art platform that you're going to learn about today, is the heart of Prisoners 2. We know that art is a really powerful way for sexual abuse survivors to express themselves, to process trauma. We already do art workshops inside several corrections facilities. And so we asked Kathy Salser, who's a good friend of JDI's and an artist and founder of A Window Between Worlds, which is the organization that we work with to bring art programs inside prisons, to work with us specifically on this project and to help survivors inside the prisons create Prisoners 2, which you'll be hearing about today. So as you'll see, the installation that Kathy and the artist created is a mural. It's in the shape of a butterfly. And from the earliest days of this project, the people at Leith and Camille spoke about the butterfly as a symbol of transformation. Metamorphosis was a real common theme in thinking about healing and that it's possible. And so that's why the butterfly theme is throughout the project. And really it's about looking at that metamorphosis and breaking silence being a part of that. So each butterfly mural consists of multiple panels, and each individual panel was painted by an individual artist behind bars. You'll see more about that and hear from some of the artists, as we mentioned earlier. And so the panels each tell the story of the artist's experience with trauma and, importantly, of their journey to healing. So the first group of artists, who, again, a couple are joining us today, then invited others to create more butterflies depicting their journeys and add them to the mural. And the project and program has really spread and grown and blossomed in beautiful ways, which you'll hear about today. And so the people at the 2 facilities, they've created something that is so inspiring and beautiful, and bravely spoken out and shared their stories. And so now it's your turn. We at JDI, we made a commitment to the survivors inside the prison that their stories would be shared with people on the outside like you, and that they could hear from you. Again, remember, the power of Me Too is the exchange, right? Is the process that people engage in together. So today we're launching a dedicated webpage where you can contribute your own messages to support survivors behind bars. We're going to share that with you later on. And I mean, again, the Me Too movement is remarkable because survivors have been able to share their stories and because they've been heard and supported by others. So today, what we're asking of you today who's joined us is to be a part of Prisoners 2. First today by being here and hearing the stories of incarcerated survivors, seeing their artwork, and then also by sharing your own messages back so that they know you're supporting them. Again, when we were looking at how are we going to do this, what we wanted to create is a way for you to share messages. And those are the likes or the retweets, the clapbacks, or keeping with the butterfly theme, as we've called them, the flutters. And that's what, so later in the hour, we're going to share a link to our Prisoners 2 webpage. But first, I would like to share a short video with you to give you a sense of the journey this project has taken.
meant to me and what I was thinking about when I did it was when I was young, I was between 6 and 8, I was being molested and I didn't reach out to anybody. I didn't tell anybody until I was like 18 years old, but I did draw pictures.
Mine was my experience of someone trying to break me, trying to make me feel hurt and broken and alone.
All I felt was anger. All I knew was anger. I didn't have any other emotion. I dealt with people in anger. If they was trying to help me, I was angry, and that's all I knew. With my panel, I was a child. I was still putting myself together like a puzzle. And I was broken into pieces. But I'm healed now.
I smiled the whole next day. I couldn't stop talking about it. It was amazing. Being able to mix colors of paint was just like, oh my gosh, it felt wonderful. Just to be able to touch paint and smell it, it was just great.
Panel is light and dark because it has a tree, me growing out of that darkness and coming into light, going through a storm, coming out. Music is a big part on my panel. I put a cross on there just because that's a part of growing back into that person that he tried to take away from me.
Hi, everyone. Cynthia here again. I don't know about you, but every time I see those images of the butterflies and the art that the people at these two prisons created, it blows me away. So yeah, someone just put into the chat, so amazing. I absolutely agree. And how healing, someone else wrote, absolutely, so powerful. And so right now I want to introduce our panel, and this is a group of women that I'm just sitting in awe of what you all have created. I'm going to welcome back Kathy Salzer, or welcome Kathy Salzer from A Window Between Worlds, Associate Warden Michelle Carter, my colleague Tara Graham, who's JDI's National Program Director, and then Carmen and Crystal, the artists at Leith Correctional. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
So I just wanted to start, if I may, with Carmen and Crystal, who are our two resident artists here joining us from Leith. Can you each talk a little bit about your panel? And I think we're going to see your panels come up on the screen. But yeah, maybe Carmen, here's your panel. Do you want to talk a little bit? I mean, Linda talked about how these panels represented each artist's journey toward healing, but say a little bit, and we heard a little bit from you in the video, but say a little bit more about what your panel represents, Carmen.
My panel represents me coming through a storm, really. I took a long time to be able to heal from the pain that I went through, being, especially it's harder being incarcerated to be able to come through that because you're so isolated, and yeah, we're offered some programs, but sometimes you just don't want to share. And this program this experience offered a whole new way to be able to share your feelings. And I see myself as a musician, but now I can see myself as an artist, being able to express my feelings, being able to express that hurt and pain that I've been through, and how being in this experience helped me come out of that, come into healing, being able to be free and have peace within myself, to get all those pieces back. That was
Absolutely.
for me.
Yeah, thank you, Carmen. And I just wanted to point out that I'm pretty sure it's our friend Melanie at the Mississippi Coalition. So from Mississippi, saying that your panel was expressed beautifully, that you expressed your journey in a beautiful way. And I just want to point out how you depicted your transition from the hurt all the way over to the music and to kind of a more healing place in your life. So thank you for giving us that and for sharing that with us. And then Crystal, I think we're going to see your panel now. Can you talk a little bit about what your panel represented and what you were trying to capture?
Yes, ma'am. Those dark colors is how I was feeling prior to the Prisoners 2 group. And after joining, this is something that I had never even shared with my family. So being a part of the group was the first time that I was able to express and get out some of that hurt and that anger. So, and that's why I chose the brighter colors on the inside, because that's where my journey with the Prisoners 2 has taken me, feeling
Wow.
brighter.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you. And I wanted to ask you, Carmen and Crystal, I mean, we're getting to talk to the two of you today, but obviously, you know, as you can see in this picture that we're looking at here, there were quite a number of artists from Leith involved, and at Camille, the other prison, involved in this project. And then, of course, there was the, you know, entire population at these two facilities. Can you just talk about what it was like once you saw those murals completed, once you saw your panel up there with all of the other panels, and after you had completed this work with all of the other artists there at Leith? Carmen, do you want to comment on that a little bit?
Sure. This was a whole emotional journey for the 16 of us originally. And you could just see the waves of emotion. And thankfully, the first day that we started, Kathy and Tara got to be there with us, and Kathy guided us through going through our butterfly breaths. And I think she'll go through that herself later. But it was, and it turned into more days worth of us being together. I think the main thing that the 16 of us got out of it was that we became friends with each other. So now I have a relationship with people that I really didn't talk to or know before we got this group. Our compound isn't humongous. It's big enough that you can walk by people and not know who they are at all. So to have this in-depth moment with people I had no clue who they were, you know, the week before, the same day, has been such like support. And then we had a few butterfly parties to make their own personal butterflies to add to the mural. And those parties, I think, helped transform our community here. Yes, we are a bunch of incarcerated people here, but you have to remember that those are actual people. I think sometimes people forget about that part about here. Like they see us as inmates or as criminals and everything, but I'm a person who's been through a lot of things in my life, and I need help just like everybody else.
Yeah, thank you, Carmen. I think it's so interesting that you just referred to kind of the transformative impact that this project had on the community. Unfortunately, I was not there at Leith with you all when these conversations happened, but what I've heard is that you all talked about the butterfly and, you know, emerging from a cocoon and the way that a butterfly sort of that transformation that happens. And that's so much like kind of the entire Me Too and Prisoners 2 movements themselves, right? It's all about the fact that getting to speak out is transformative, it is healing. And so you don't have to sort of hold on to that secret anymore. And so I think that's extremely powerful to think about, the transformative impact of what happened. And Crystal, what about for you? What did you see happening around you? And one thing I want to point out is that I know you and Carmen didn't really know each other before this project, and now you two are good friends. Talk a little bit about the impact that you saw.
Yes, ma'am. The whole experience has been very powerful. And just like Carmen had stated, it's brought us all together in a close way. Friendships have been made that wasn't there. And, you can just pass by, the females on the yard that was involved with this and us, and, just, hey, are you okay? And, and any other time, somebody you would never have passed by and spoke to. So it's been a very powerful experience.
Wow, that's incredible. And then say a little bit, I don't want to miss sort of the opportunity to ask about what it meant to, to kind of see the impact of Prisoners 2 on people at Leith overall, right? What did it mean to have this platform and to be kind of connected in this way to the larger Me Too movement? Carmen, do you want to say something on that note? Yeah.
Yeah, when Me Too first started, of course, we really had no clue what was going on because it's all through social media, which we don't have access to. And until it got humongous when it was on television and everything, that was like the first time we encountered it. And knowing that myself, it's like, okay, well, I have a story. Does anybody care about my story? And when this came along, it was, okay, somebody does care about my voice. Somebody cares about my story. Somebody actually cares about me and wants to hear what I have to say. I feel validated as a person.
Yeah.
Other people in the yard, I know they feel the same way. People want to be in we've expanded the group to have an actual group now where we sit around and just talk about experience or talk about how to handle new things, how to just cope with that and try to be a survivor instead of a victim. So there's so many people, we actually had to reduce our group size down, so we had to be able to fit people in faster. So it's just a safe place for people to come and talk. And without doing this program, there wouldn't have started. It would have took longer to start.
Yeah, I love the fact that this project has had such amazing ripple effects. It's not something that's been contained, right? It's not just, kind of finish the art installation and put it up and everyone goes on about their business. You can see that the impact is one that is ongoing and continual. I don't think that the facility will ever be the same again, or that you all will ever be the same again after experiencing all of this. Crystal, what do you think? What do you see as the long-term impact at the people on the people at Leith?
Wow. It's just like every day we're reminded, because now when you see that butterfly flying, you're reminded that, hey, that was a symbol that, that's my healing. That's my journey through the Prisoners 2. And, just to be able to walk by somebody on the yard and just to hear the excitement, they're ready to get in these groups. They're ready to have that platform, that safe place to start their journey.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. And I want to bring in Tara now, my colleague. You got to be in the room, Tara, right? When this was all happening and it was all kind of germinating and growing. What was that like to be in the room, to see the artists kind of thinking about what they were going to do and talking to Kathy and making plans? What did that feel like?
It was very powerful. It was very emotional. I think about when we first arrived at the facility and we had a list of names of people that had been identified to participate. And even though we'd sent some information in advance, when that group came together, there were some people who were really skeptical about what this was going to be and chose not to participate. So Kathy and I had some time to set up the room and get it all ready. And some of the people who were helping to set up the room, you could see them looking over and they started asking questions. And then someone, got up, was brave enough to say, well, can I do this too? And so we said, well, sure, why not? Because as Kathy will probably talk about, we see you don't have to be a quote unquote artist. Everyone can create art, and that this is a way to express feelings and emotions and experiences. So we had this group together, and, like Carmen and Crystal have shared, they didn't necessarily know one another. They may not have seen themselves as an artist. There was a lot of questions about what in the world are we doing? But we got to spend several hours together, and really I was just a witness to all of this. Kathy led them through the entire experience, and I just ran around making sure people had paint and Q-tips and paintbrushes, whatever they needed to create what they were wanting to create. And as I think you heard on the video about how someone just like loved playing with the paint and just getting to touch all the supplies, I got to watch that evolution of people, getting to play with the art. And some people came prepared with a poem or words that they wanted to put on their panel or a vision of what this was going to be, while other people would create something and then completely paint over it and start again. And then because we were there so long, we had the opportunity to take a break and have dinner together, which I think also fostered our relationship building, and then continue to work together. And I just want to say too that, we didn't finish it all that night. And I really commend A.W. Carter, who you'll hear from in a minute, and the leadership at both Leith and Camille and all of South Carolina for believing in us in this project. We've had a long-standing relationship with South Carolina, and we've tried a lot of different things with them over the years, and they're always willing to try something new and different from what they've normally done if they think it's going to be beneficial to the people in their custody. And this was no exception. And so Kathy and I left after that first night together, and then the pandemic hit. We had anticipated going back and finishing the panels and doing a celebration of some sort. But that didn't happen. And I think that in some ways, things work out the way they're meant to work out. I mean, what happened instead was that, A.W. Carter carved out time for all of those artists to get together, hours and hours of time to complete their panels. And then I got a phone call saying, we're going to have an unveiling tomorrow. And then they had this party, I think it was like in the summer of 2020, to unveil the mural for the institution. And it really has taken on a life of its own, which I think that's what we're always hoping for at JDI, that it's not something that we lead as an organization. We introduce it and allow ownership to take over. And that's absolutely what we've seen in the case of this project.
Yeah, thank you for that, Tara. I mean, it's funny, we don't get to go into, lots of prisons and bring Kathy and put in, gigantic installations, but we do these art workshops at a number of facilities around the country, in New York and California. And it's funny, I think the reactions that we get are really similar to, what you were told there at Leith. I remember that you shared that one of the artists said to you, this has been something to the effect of like the best hour that I've spent in prison. And oftentimes I'll think of that quote when I think about the art workshops, but I'll find that I can't remember if that was in South Carolina or California. But do you remember when that happened?
Yeah, I actually think it was at the other institution. I think it was at Camille. Because at the end of the time at both facilities, when we were creating these murals, we would invite the artists to share about what they have created or in the midst of creating. And it was really fascinating and I'm grateful to all of them for their willingness to share of their stories. Some people, if we'd asked them that at the beginning of the time together, that wouldn't have happened. But it was amazing to see that transformation, even in that short period of time, about them seeing this as a way for them to express emotions, and like Crystal said, maybe for the first time in their lives, experiences that they had had. So yeah, it was truly, it definitely left me. It had a very profound impact on me leaving both of these institutions. And the other thing I want to share is, especially at Leaf, we thought, you know what, let's lay this out. Like, let's put all these panels together. Let's see what it looks like. And it's amazing. And as you could see in those pictures in the video, there's order in that chaos, right? Like individually, you see these amazing stories and you think there's no way this will make something when we put it together, but it does. And I think that's, every time I look at the completed mural, I'm just really awestruck at how amazing it turned out.
Yeah, and I just wanted to recognize that our great friend E at the New York Coalition Against Sexual Assault had just put in the chat how impactful the workshops that we've done at the prisons in New York have been. So thank you, E, for that shout out. And so I want to just pull you in, Kathy. It's so good to see you. Can you talk a little bit about this trauma-informed model that Tara and I have been talking about, and that really was kind of the whole foundation around this project? Where did it come from? How did you develop it? Yeah,
Wonderful.
talk a little bit about the magic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, at Window Between Worlds for 30 years now, we've been holding space of using art as this anchor of change. And so in the face of violence and trauma, to actually have art as this window of time to honor one's own process of expression, to find a way to perhaps express what hasn't been safe to express, and to know that that window of time is a creative and transformative process. But it is led by each participant. It is using art as that anchor that they can use over time, because transforming trauma it's a process, it's a journey. And so it looks different in each setting. And so at A Window Between Worlds, with each participant, it looks different, but in each setting. And so with this project, to be invited to imagine, how can art provide a scaffolding? How can art provide a platform, is what Linda said at the beginning. So like social media is a platform that enables connection. When you post something and you might have someone like it or share it, there's this feeling of a web of connection and not being alone that is afforded by that platform. And so for me and A Window Between Worlds to be able to think and offer, how can art become that platform where social media is not? And so in creating this, to begin with those panels and those 16 individuals at each institution, to invite that space to share, like Crystal shared. This is something I hadn't shared with anyone before, but to choose to share. And then for that art to not be, it's that art is what's on the wall. At Window Between Worlds, we often talk about how the material of our art, the tools of our art, the main tools are actually our breath, our bodies, and each other. That is the transformative material, the transformation that is happening. The art, what we're creating is with our breath, our bodies, and each other. And so there's a few slides I'd love to share where you've seen the mural on the wall, and to just talk for a moment about this invitation that each of those individuals and myself as facilitator, we cut fabric out of the uniform, the fabric from the uniforms, to create these butterflies, and to actually know that by creating this anchor on the wall, this doesn't end here. It's an invitation, it's a beginning. And so each woman was invited, each individual invited to share, what is the trauma, what is the story of that, to be able to express it and then to turn it over, and what is the path toward my healing, but to have something to hold on to. Because in trauma, and I know for myself, I can lose my way at any moment. And to be able to notice, wait, this is in my body right now, but what is it? What is my tool? What is my path out? And because the first thing we forget in the face of trauma is what helps us. And so to use art as this anchor of change. So we birthed that together this day, and with Crystal and Carmen, and we just talked about it just before gathering with you all. that they have their butterflies, one in her Bible and another in the locker. But even in moments without holding this butterfly, even to be able to take those butterfly breaths, to be able to maybe touch the uniform and know, wait a minute, what is my from? What is that trauma? And maybe take a breath to release even a little bit of it, to take a breath for the present, and then to take a breath to remember, what is my toward? And those are, we call those our butterfly breaths. Crystal mentioned, or no, Carmen mentioned. And so these artists in Leith and Camille then invited all of those in custody to begin to create. And so this anchor is really an invitation for each person to be able to have that safety, to share what hasn't been safe, and so to shift and to be able to check in on that deeper level where it hasn't been safe to do so. And so a shift. And if you move to the next slide as well, the most beautiful thing, and you'll hear from A.W. Carter soon, but A.W. Carter created journal prompts. And on the tablets that each person in custody has, this invitation to share and to journal each day. So this artwork is not what's on the wall, but it's the journey over time. It's the leadership of Carmen. It's the leadership of Crystal. It's the web of connection, checking in with themselves and each other. And in those journal prompts, there's just one that I wanted to share. It says, if we go back one slide, it says, who can you trust to hear, listen, and hold space for you and your story? Like that question, to be asked that question, to be asked any of these questions, to have that valued and honored and seen and to be connected in that journey is transformation. And that is the art of this piece. And so with the next slide, that's the curriculum for this project was really an invitation. It was, you know, here's for Crystal, for Carmen, for those 16 individuals, and for A.W. Carter, you get to carry this where you want to. And so those journal prompts are part of carrying it forward. Gatherings, butterfly parties, creating space to actually know there are resources for anyone experiencing abuse, to know that there's, to be able to talk to each other, to be able to actually transform and build those pathways. Like, to speak out can feel very, very scary and dangerous, and can literally be dangerous. But to build a fabric of support, so each person, as they navigate that journey, can know they're not alone. That's, so coming back to social media and Me Too. So social media is not there. There's no way to have that connection. But through this project, that is what Carmen is building. That's what Crystal is building, with each moment passing on the yard and saying, are you okay? That is the art. And you, Carmen and Crystal and A.W. Carter, you're the leaders, you're the artists of these ripples that carry forward over time. And that is the artwork. So thank you so much.
Sorry to interrupt you, Kathy. I just really wanted to reflect that I remember you saying that collaboration and having a collaborative process toward creating art is really important. And I just felt like everything that you talked about around the importance of the breaths and the importance of the people at Leith taking leadership just speaks so much to that. So thank you for bringing that collaborative process to this. And I just wanted to bring in Associate Warden Carter, because you have just run with this project, A.W. Carter, in an amazing way. And I just want to ask, why was this so important to you? I mean, you are an associate warden. You were trying to, during much of the time that Tara was reflecting on, that this project was really kind of getting, you know, the installation was getting completed and things were building. You were helping to run a facility in the midst of an international pandemic. How did you have time, and why was it so important for you to lift up this work?
Like Tara said, when it first started, the offenders didn't really know what to expect. They were kind of scared to emotionally get into it. Some didn't even go into it because they said they didn't want to do it emotionally. But then after seeing the effect that it had on the ones that actually went through it and the excitement they got once they started doing the artwork. And it was something that I didn't want to take that from them, because I could see that it was a kind of a healing for some of them. And then they got where to, I really don't think I could do it, to when are we going to be able to finish? So to keep that going, I felt like I had to make time for that, because any time that you have a program that's going to have an impact, it's very important that you continue that program, because that is what's going to help them here. And once they get on the inside, to keep them from coming back, because we all know that if you don't deal with a lot of trauma, that it's going to continue and it's not going to ever heal. So I think by having them to do this project and even having them to ongoing projects, that it's really helping them. It's really making an impact on them and the female offenders on the compound. And that they're excited about it. And not only is it helping, but it is making a big difference. Anything, if your programs, anything that's going to make a difference, you need to make time for it.
Yeah, that's amazing leadership, A.W. Carter. Thank you. And Tara, can you just tell a little bit about what it is that we're asking people on the outside? What role are we asking them to play? What are we asking them to do today?
Yeah, sure. And first of all, I just want to say A.W. Carter is incredibly humble about the role that she played. She really took this and ran with it. She said to me, you know, Tara, I think I initially thought I would come up with like maybe a journal prompt a month or, you know, maybe once a week. And she said, but then I had one for every day of the year. So I know that this has been impactful to her personally, as well as to all of the people there at Leith Correctional. But you know, something that I've learned over my time in working with incarcerated people is that they're often let down a lot, that there isn't follow through. And even though this project to get to where we are today has been quite the journey, we are there. And this was always part of our plan to share this experience, this project, the stories of Carmen and Crystal and others like them with the world, and to get that feedback and the support from people on the outside. And so that's where we are today. And that's what we're wanting. We're inviting you all to do. We'll be sharing again at the end the link to the website where you can see more images of individual panels, and you'll have the opportunity to share your own messages of support back. And we will be then passing those along to both Leith and Camille so they can be included as part of the larger mural.
Thanks, Tara. And before we move into the Q&A, I just want to ask Carmen and Crystal, do either of you have anything you want to say to JDI supporters as they write those Prisoners 2 messages that Tara was just talking about? Carmen?
Remember that your message to us is definitely can be anonymous. You don't have to, but it's your way of supporting us. It's your way of tweeting to us. It's your way of your flutter to us, like they spoke about earlier. So just keep in mind that sometimes you want to touch other people, and this will be a great way for you to affect somebody here in South Carolina, especially.
Thanks, Carmen. Crystal, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, as I sit here and read these messages, you know, and see that they're coming from all over, it's really heartwarming, and I just want to say thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So we are running a little short on time, but we've got a little bit of time for our Q&A. So I'm just going to check and see what wonderful questions we've gotten. So here's a question for Tara, I think. Has JDI thought about running these workshops in men's facilities?
Sure. You know, we do art workshops in all kinds of facilities around the nation, art workshops. And actually, you know, while we did the Prisoners 2 project into what are called women's facilities in South Carolina, not everyone in those facilities identifies as a woman. So I would say that we, both with this project and our other art workshops, we've had success no matter who we are working with, that it is powerful and impactful for all.
Yeah, and I think on that same note, we got a question about whether Prisoners 2 could be replicated nationwide. I'm sure you would say yes, Tara, right?
Absolutely.
And then here's an interesting question. Someone asked that, it seems like it could be risky to share this way inside of a prison. And I just wanted to ask, Carmen, could you comment on that a little bit? Did it feel risky? I'm sure it must have. It feels like a dumb question for me to even ask that. But in what way, or how did you deal with that sense of risk of kind of putting your story, your experience out there? How did you summon that courage?
It is risky to be vulnerable to people you don't know. I can say that for outside and in here. Being incarcerated is a hard situation to deal with. I've told other people that, like, you have to put on a prison mask. I told my mother that the other day, but you have to put on a different face. Like, because you don't have to be tough, but you can't be your normal emotional self that you would be at home. So letting down all those walls for somebody to see your true, real face is a risky thing. And so for anyone, I think it's just the point of what kind of inner strength do you have as a person? How do you want to go through a healing process? Do you want to go through that healing process at all? Some people don't. Some people want to just hold on to it. I know I was ready to let go, and bringing people in and sharing your story is the best way for you to move forward.
Yeah, thank you. And Linda, I wanted to ask along those same lines, as JDI, what did we do to make sure that it would be safe for people in custody to participate in this project?
Yeah, I think you heard some of the process, and I think like we do whenever we enter a space where incarcerated people live, we started early on with group meetings with people who volunteered to come and be a part. And there was a lot of meeting together and conversations prior to doing anything at all, to make sure that we were following the lead of the people inside, and to make sure that we were setting up things that would feel as safe as possible for them, while also creating a space that was challenging, right? There's for any survivor of sexual abuse anywhere, there's risk in sharing, right? There's all kinds of different potential risks. For incarcerated survivors, those risks are really magnified. And so we had to take the people inside, the Carmens and the Crystals at both facilities into account, and what was right for them at every step of the way. And again, it is bold and rare for facilities to allow advocates to have that complete alone time with incarcerated people, and to have access to them via Zoom and telephones. And so again, that giving us that space where we could do that was what we asked of South Carolina Department of Corrections, and what they gave to us.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then I saw that someone in Colombia asked, I live in Medellin, Colombia. Is JDI in Colombia, in Medellin? We will happily open an office in Colombia. We would love to do that. We don't currently have one. So I'm so sorry, Kathy. I totally missed you over there at the corner of my eye. Welcome, say, chime in.
Add one more piece on the topic of safety. It was powerful that we had someone representing PREA. So the support for anyone who's reporting abuse was there. Kenneth was an amazing person, was there and shared about PREA, Prison Rape Elimination Act, about the rights and the reporting process. And so in one of the workshops, someone actually took part of the time during the workshop to actually report something to him. And so to have that, the actual scaffolding of those processes connected in with the art, and the worksheets that are, the butterfly worksheet actually shares the hotline, and that there's PREA resources. And so to have the art connected in with those layers of support, I would add, to give safety.
Yeah, that feels like a really important component. And then I think we've got one last question, which is something about sexual abuse in detention generally. So in this question, I'll ask Tara or Linda, whoever wants to chime in. Primarily, is sexual abuse in detention committed by the corrections officers, or is it committed primarily by the people who are incarcerated, or is it primarily happening before people even come to prison?
I can take that. So the research that we have has found that abuse is committed about equally in adult facilities by staff and by incarcerated people. In youth facilities, it's a higher percentage of by staff. And what we know about the prisons that are, as Tara mentioned, that are women's prisons, where there are also people who are transgender and identify as men living, but that inside those prisons, almost 85 to 90% of people have experienced abuse prior to their incarceration. So really, when we look at doing this kind of work inside prisons that are created for women, we're working with some of the highest concentrations of sexual abuse survivors anywhere. And that's part of why this work is so important.
Great, thank you, Linda. So just two quick things, and then I'm going to let you close us out, Linda. So someone asked, are you in Iowa? I'm up for working with JDI if you have anything going on in Iowa. We'd love to talk with you, Heather. So please send us an email. We provide technical assistance, and we're happy to talk with you about what may be happening in Iowa. And then Reverend Holly Beaumont, you're asking about whether we could use the art to promote your PREA compliance bill in New Mexico. Let's talk about that too. So please do drop us an email. So Linda, I'm going to thank everyone so much, especially Carmen and Crystal and A.W. Carter. Thank you just so much for joining us. And then Linda, do you want to go ahead and take us on out?
Sure. Yes, definitely. So again, I want to echo Cynthia's thanks. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Like I said at the top, we're so thrilled to be able to share this project with you. And thank you to all of our guests for joining. Thank you, Kathy, for joining JDI in working on this project, for A.W. Carter for making this possible, and especially, of course, to Carmen and Crystal for sharing their stories so generously with all of us. And I just want to say again how unusual and bold it is for this kind of opportunity and to get to have Carmen and Crystal live on an event like this. It really is not a usual opportunity. Prisoners 2, I think, as we've sort of made clear, for us, this is a landmark campaign, and it is to involve incarcerated people in the conversation around sexual abuse in the Me Too movement that has so powerfully opened up the conversation, and to give some of the most isolated, marginalized, and silenced by things that are not under their control survivors an opportunity to be a part of that. And for you to join. Anyone watching today, thank you again. You have a vital role in this campaign, right? Again, the Me Too movement is back and forth. It can't be done without you. So now it's your turn to support survivors behind bars, using the website that's in the link. You heard Carmen and Crystal say already what it'll mean to them and to the others. So I hope you'll go there right now and share a message that we can send back to Carmen and Crystal and everyone else inside Leith and Camille. It is so important, and you heard it, to get their stories out. Let them know that their stories are getting out, that you hear them, that you see them, that you feel them, that you're with them. And this right now is the launch of this phase of the project. It's just the beginning of this part. And at that website, there's going to be more to come. We hope you can be a part of it along the way. Continue to check back as it grows, because again, it only works if it's both ways. You're such an important part. I really hope you'll also support the campaign by considering making a gift to JDI and also to Kathy's organization and JDI's partner, A Window Between Worlds. We're going to share those links in the chat as well. And you're going to receive an email later with a recording of today's event and all of these relevant links. So if you don't catch them, don't worry, you'll get them. And a reminder that JDI and Window Between Worlds, we rely on people like you, on your compassion, on your gifts, on your participation to do every pieces of the work we do. And so again, I want to thank, for those of you who've seen a lot of friends out there and supporters, thank you to everyone who's supporting our work in various ways already. A warm, very warm welcome to those of you who are new to us and joining us. Again, we're so grateful for you to join us today and for participating in this important and really landmark campaign, Prisoners 2. So thank you so much. We are going to leave the chat open for just a few minutes so you can grab those links, but also feel free to submit any final comments or questions, and we can then answer those offline. Again, thank you all so much for being with us today.